If you're thinking about buying a pickup truck, you need to hear this before you burn tens of thousands of dollars. These are 4 pickup trucks Consumer Reports exposed for collapsing before 60,000 miles. And the names on this list might shock you because they're some of the most popular trucks on the road today. First up is the Ford F-150, America's best-selling truck, and that's exactly why this one hurts. Consumer Reports flagged serious reliability issues hitting well before 60K miles, especially with the 10-speed automatic transmission. Owners reported harsh shifting, sudden gear hunting, and complete transmission failures that turned daily driving into a nightmare. Add recurring electrical gremlins and engine complaints, and what should be a bulletproof work truck starts feeling like a gamble the moment the warranty fades. Next is the Chevrolet Silverado 1500, a truck that looks tough but often folds under pressure. Consumer Reports highlighted premature engine problems, especially with lifter failures in V8 models. Drivers reported ticking noises, misfires, and engines shutting down unexpectedly, sometimes before hitting 50,000 miles. When a truck's heart gives out this early, it's not just unreliable, it's financially brutal because repairs can climb into the thousands fast. Then there's the Ram 1500, a truck praised for comfort but criticized hard for durability. Consumer Reports pointed out chronic electrical system failures, including touchscreen malfunctions, sensor issues, and random warning lights lighting up the dash like a Christmas tree. Suspension components and transmission complaints also surfaced early, leaving many owners shocked at how quickly this luxury truck started behaving like a project vehicle. And the most surprising entry on this list is the Nissan Titan, marketed as a dependable alternative to the big three. Consumer Reports found repeated issues with transmission reliability, drivetrain failures, and poor long-term durability. Some owners experienced complete transmission breakdowns before reaching 60,000 miles, turning what was supposed to be a long-lasting truck into an early trade-in or repair nightmare. What makes this exposure even worse is that all 4 of these trucks were expected to go well beyond 100,000 miles without major problems, yet Consumer Reports data shows patterns of early collapse that buyers weren't warned about at the dealership. These aren't rare flukes, they're repeated complaints from real owners who trusted the badge, trusted the reputation, and paid the price. And once you see how much these failures cost to fix, the story gets even darker, because the repair bills alone are enough to make many owners regret ever signing the paperwork, as the deeper reliability data reveals exactly why these trucks fail so early and which warning signs drivers ignored until it was too late. Consumer Reports dug deeper, and the real problem isn't just one bad part. It's a pattern of rushed engineering and cost cutting that shows up right around that 40K to 60K mile mark. That's the danger zone where owners expect reliability, but instead get warning lights, rough shifts, oil consumption, and sudden breakdowns that feel completely out of nowhere. These trucks don't slowly wear out, they fall off a cliff. With the Ford F-150, Consumer Reports data shows many owners noticing transmission hesitation early on, brushing it off as normal behavior, until the truck starts slamming into gear or refusing to shift at all. By the time dealerships acknowledge the issue, the damage is already done. Repairs can cost more than 5 figures, especially once the warranty clock runs out, and suddenly the most popular truck in America becomes one of the most expensive mistakes. The Chevrolet Silverado 1500 situation is even more alarming because the failures often come without warning. Consumer Reports highlighted cases where perfectly running engines developed catastrophic lifter failures almost overnight. No slow decline, no clear symptoms, just sudden power loss, engine knock, and a repair estimate that rivals the value of an older truck. For a vehicle marketed as built to last, this kind of early collapse is devastating. Then you look at the Ram 1500 and Consumer Reports points out a different kind of breakdown. Death by electronics, screens freeze, cameras fail, safety systems shut down randomly. Owners report being locked out of basic controls because software glitches disable key features. When your truck can't even tell you what's wrong because the system itself is broken, reliability becomes a guessing game instead of a guarantee. And the Nissan Titan, once seen as the underdog built for longevity, took a major hit in Consumer Reports reliability rankings. Transmission complaints dominate owner feedback, with rough shifts escalating into full transmission replacements well before the truck should even be considered broken in. Many owners admitted they bought the Titan to avoid problems from American brands, only to face the same, or worse, failures sooner than expected. What's scary is how quiet these issues are during the test drive phase. Consumer Reports emphasize that most of these trucks trucks feel solid, smooth, and powerful when new. The problems don't show up until months or years later, when payments are still due and resale value drops like a rock. That's when owners realize they didn't buy a long-term workhorse. They leased a ticking time bomb on wheels. And just when you think these are isolated complaints, Consumer Reports connects the dots with long-term owner surveys, revealing that the same failures repeat across different model years, different drivers, different locations, same breakdowns, same regrets. And once you understand how these trucks compare to others that quietly pass 150,000 miles without drama, it raises a dangerous question about why these specific models keep failing early, and which pickups Consumer Reports says you should absolutely avoid next based on the trends already forming right now. Consumer Reports didn't stop at pointing fingers. They broke down exactly why these trucks keep showing up in failure reports, and the explanation makes buyers even angrier. Manufacturers pack these pickups with more tech, more complexity, and thinner margins for error, but durability took a back seat. The result is trucks that look modern and powerful, but can't survive real-world use past 60,000 miles. For the Ford F-150, Consumer Reports highlights how software-driven transmissions became a liability. The 10-speed was designed for efficiency, not longevity, and constant reprogramming can't fix worn clutches and failing valve bodies. Owners describe visiting dealerships multiple times for updates, only to have the same hard shifts return weeks later. That's not a fix, that's a stall tactic until the warranty expires. The Chevrolet Silverado 1500 faces a similar issue of over-engineering gone wrong. Consumer Reports reports that fuel-saving technologies like cylinder deactivation put extreme stress on internal engine components. Lifter failures aren't random, they're the predictable outcome of pushing hardware beyond its limits. And once that system fails, the repair isn't optional. Ignore it, and the engine self-destructs. With the Ram 1500, Consumer Reports explains how luxury features became reliability killers. Air suspension systems sag, electrical connectors corrode, software bugs interfere with drivetrain performance. Owners expected comfort without compromise, but instead got a truck that behaves like a luxury SUV with none of the long-term dependability. The Nissan Titan story is especially frustrating because Consumer Reports notes that parts availability and dealership support make failures even worse. When transmissions go out early, repairs take weeks or months due to limited components and specialized labor. That means downtime, rental costs, and a truck sitting useless while payments keep coming. Consumer Reports also warned that resale values on these models drop faster once reliability data becomes public. Buyers in the used market know which trucks fail early, and they price that risk into every offer. Owners who thought they'd trade in at 100K miles are discovering their truck lost value long before it lost payments. What makes this exposure brutal is that many of these problems don't show up on basic inspection checklists. No leaks, no codes, no obvious red flags. Consumer Reports says the only real warning is owner history, and most buyers never see that until it's too late. And as these failure patterns continue stacking up, Consumer Reports is already tracking newer model years to see if the problems were fixed or quietly ignored. Early data suggests some issues are still surfacing, raising serious concerns for anyone shopping today who assumes newer means safer, because the next trucks on this watch list could end up collapsing even faster if buyers don't know what to look for when the mileage starts climbing and the real stress test begins. Consumer Reports also uncovered a hard truth most dealerships never say out loud. Maintenance alone won't save these trucks. Many owners followed service schedules perfectly, changed fluids early, and still watched major components fail before 60,000 miles. That's because these aren't neglect issues, they're design flaws baked in from day one. Take the Ford F-150 again. Consumer Reports notes that even low-mileage trucks driven gently showed the same transmission complaints as work trucks. That destroys the myth that you must have driven it hard. The data shows the failures don't discriminate. Weekend drivers, commuters, and job site trucks all reported the same jerking shifts and loss of drivability, proving this isn't abuse, it's engineering. The Chevrolet Silverado 1500 continues to rack up red flags because once lifter damage starts, metal shavings can contaminate the entire engine. Consumer Reports warns that what begins as a small noise often ends with a full engine replacement. That's why some owners went from zero issues to total failure in a matter of weeks, with no affordable repair path in between. With the Ram 1500, Consumer Reports highlights another overlooked issue: software dependency. Simple mechanical problems now trigger electronic shutdowns, limp modes, and false alerts. Owners describe trucks that technically still run but refuse to operate normally because the system can't confirm everything is working. When a truck needs a software engineer as much as a mechanic, reliability takes a serious hit, and the Nissan Titan keeps falling in Consumer Reports rankings because early failures scare off repeat buyers. Titan owners reported loving the truck at first, then losing confidence fast once drivetrain issues appeared. That loss of trust matters because once a truck strands you even once, every noise afterward feels like the next breakdown waiting to happen. Consumer Reports also compared repair frequency, and these 4 trucks stood out for needing major work far earlier than competitors. Not cosmetic fixes, not wear items, core components, engines, transmissions, suspensions, failing at mileage where trucks used to just be getting broken in. With the Ford F-150, Consumer Reports found that constant revisions and mid-cycle fixes actually made ownership worse. Newer updates didn't always solve old problems, sometimes they introduced new ones. Owners reported that after one issue was fixed, another appeared weeks later. That cycle creates fatigue, frustration, and a growing sense that the truck will never be fully reliable. The Chevrolet Silverado 1500 comparison was brutal. Consumer Reports showed that older, simpler GM trucks often outlast newer models by tens of thousands of miles. The newer Silverados look stronger, tow more, and promise better fuel economy, but internally they're more fragile. That trade-off might look good on paper, but in the real world, it's costing owners engines before they ever hit 60K. The Ram 1500 stood out for how fast small problems snowball. Consumer Reports explains that when electrical issues combine with suspension or drivetrain faults, diagnosis becomes guesswork. Dealers replace parts one at a time, hoping the problem disappears. Meanwhile, owners pay for repeated visits with no permanent solution, watching confidence in the truck collapse along with reliability. And the Nissan Titan, once praised for simplicity, now suffers from being caught between eras. Consumer Reports notes that it lacks the refinement of newer rivals, but still carries modern failure points. That puts it in a worst of both worlds position, less advanced, yet no more durable. What really angers buyers is that none of this is obvious in marketing. Commercials show trucks hauling mountains, crossing deserts, and surviving abuse, while Consumer Reports data tells a completely different story once the odometer climbs. Strength on camera doesn't equal longevity in ownership. Consumer Reports also warns that extended warranties are becoming almost mandatory for these models, not optional. That alone is a red flag. When a truck needs insurance just to feel safe past 50,000 miles, something has already gone wrong, and the deeper you go into owner feedback, the clearer it becomes. Many of these failures happen right after the truck is paid down enough that owners plan to keep it long term. That's the moment reliability matters most, and that's when these trucks start falling apart. For the Ford F-150, that loss of trust often starts with inconsistency. One day the truck drives perfectly. The next day it slams into gear or hesitates pulling into traffic. Consumer Reports notes that unpredictability is worse than a constant issue because drivers never know when the next problem will hit. A work truck that can't be trusted becomes a liability, not an asset. The Chevrolet Silverado 1500 creates a different kind of anxiety. Consumer Reports owners constantly listening for engine noise, ticking, knocking, misfires, because once you know about lifter failures, every sound feels like a countdown. That mental pressure alone pushes many owners to trade the truck early, often at a loss. With the Ram 1500, trust collapses through electronics. Owners describe fear of long trips because a screen glitch or sensor failure could disable features without warning. Consumer Reports emphasizes that when trucks rely heavily on software, a small bug can create a big problem far from home, turning convenience into risk. And the Nissan Titan struggles with confidence because failures feel final. Consumer Reports data shows that when Titans experience transmission or drivetrain issues, owners often don't recover faith in the vehicle even after repairs. One major breakdown is enough to change how the truck is perceived forever. Consumer Reports also analyzed how dealerships respond to these failures, and that adds another layer of frustration. Many owners were told their issues were normal, within spec, or not reproducible. That delay allows damage to worsen while buyers feel dismissed and stuck. By the time action is taken, the repair is no longer minor. What's worse is how these trucks are often recommended by friends or family who haven't reached the danger zone yet. Consumer Reports warns that advice based on low mileage experience can be misleading because these problems don't show up at 10K or 20K miles. They surface when the truck is supposed to prove its worth, and as more long-term data becomes available, Consumer Reports continues to track the same question buyers keep asking. Are these isolated bad years or signs of deeper systemic problems? The trends suggest it's the latter, which means the next wave of owners may face the same breakdowns unless something fundamentally changes. That's why understanding what happens just before the collapse is so critical, because there are moments, small signs, that appear right before things go wrong. Miss them and the failure feels sudden. Spot them early and you might still have a chance to avoid the worst of the damage as the mileage keeps climbing and the real cost of ownership finally reveals itself. Consumer Reports says those warning signs are easy to miss because they don't scream failure at first. They whisper, a slight delay when shifting, a faint vibration at highway speed, a warning light that flashes once and disappears. Most drivers shrug it off, but Consumer Reports found that these small signals often appear thousands of miles before a major breakdown. In the Ford F-150, early transmission trouble often shows up as hesitation during low-speed driving or awkward shifts when the truck is cold. Consumer Reports notes that many owners reported these symptoms as early as 25,000 miles, but dealers frequently labeled them as normal operation. By the time the problem became undeniable, internal damage was already done. For the Chevrolet Silverado 1500, the red flags are even quieter. A faint ticking sound, slight loss of power, rough idle at stoplights. Consumer Reports warns that these symptoms often indicate lifter wear, and ignoring them can turn a manageable repair into a catastrophic engine failure. The danger is that the truck may still drive fine until it suddenly doesn't. With the Ram 1500, Consumer Reports points to intermittent electrical glitches as the biggest early indicator. Screens rebooting, cameras cutting out, random sensor alerts that vanish on restart. Owners often dismiss these as software quirks, but Consumer Reports says repeated glitches can signal deeper electrical system instability that eventually spreads to core vehicle functions. The Nissan Titan shows its warning signs through driveline behavior, slight clunks when shifting, hesitation under acceleration, rough engagement when towing. Consumer Reports found that these symptoms often preceded full transmission failure, sometimes by only a few thousand miles. Consumer Reports stresses that documentation matters. Owners who recorded symptoms early and pushed for inspections had a better chance of warranty coverage or early intervention. Those who waited often faced full replacement costs. It's a painful lesson in how modern trucks punish delay. Another troubling discovery is how many of these issues escalate right after routine maintenance. Fresh fluid changes can temporarily mask symptoms, giving owners false confidence. Consumer Reports says this calm before the storm effect caused many drivers to ignore warning signs until the failure was unavoidable. As more owners share long-term experiences, Consumer Reports continues to see the same timeline repeat. Subtle signs, dealer dismissal, temporary relief, sudden collapse. It's a cycle that traps buyers who believe trucks are built to last no matter what. And the scariest part is that none of this requires extreme use. No heavy towing, no off-road abuse, just normal driving. That's why Consumer Reports calls these failures unacceptable, especially at mileage where trucks are supposed to prove their durability. Which leads straight into the next reality buyers must understand: how much these early collapses actually cost in real dollars, not just frustration once the warranty ends and the repair estimates arrive, reshaping what ownership really means as the miles keep piling up. Consumer Reports didn't sugarcoat the financial fallout, because this is where the story turns brutal. Once these trucks collapse early, the costs don't come in hundreds. They come in thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, and they arrive fast. Transmission replacements, engine teardowns, electrical system diagnostics that drag on for weeks. These aren't rare edge cases. Consumer Reports found they're common enough to reshape ownership costs entirely. For the Ford F-150, transmission repairs are the biggest wallet killer. Consumer Reports data shows full replacements often land between $5,000 and $10,000 depending on location and availability. And because many failures hit just outside warranty coverage, owners are forced to decide whether to repair a truck they no longer trust or trade it in at a steep loss. Either way, the money is gone. The Chevrolet Silverado 1500 can be even worse. Consumer Reports highlights lifter failures that escalate into complete engine replacements, costing well over $10,000. Some owners were quoted numbers so high that they simply walked away from the truck altogether. When an engine fails before 60,000 miles, it doesn't just hurt financially, it destroys the entire value proposition of owning a pickup. With the Ram 1500, the damage comes from repeated smaller repairs that never seem to end. Consumer Reports reports owners spending thousands chasing electrical and suspension problems one visit at a time. Each fix feels manageable on its own, but together they drain savings while never fully restoring confidence in the truck. And the Nissan Titan often hits owners with long downtime on top of repair costs. Consumer Reports notes that limited parts availability means weeks without the truck, rental expenses stacking up, and productivity lost. Even when repairs are completed, many owners say the experience permanently changed how they view the vehicle. Consumer Reports also points out a harsh truth. Once a truck gains a reputation for early failure, insurance rates, warranty prices, and resale values all adjust accordingly. Buyers pay more to protect themselves, and sellers get less when it's time to move on. That hidden cost follows the truck long after the first breakdown. What makes this exposure powerful is that Consumer Reports isn't telling buyers all trucks are bad. They're showing that some models consistently fail expectations while others quietly outperform them. Reliability still exists, but it's uneven, and assuming every modern pickup is built the same is the fastest way to get burned. The lesson Consumer Reports keeps repeating is simple but uncomfortable. Popularity doesn't equal durability, strong marketing doesn't guarantee longevity, and a smooth test drive says nothing about what happens at 50,000 miles. These four trucks prove that reputation alone can no longer be trusted. As the data continues to grow, Consumer Reports is watching to see whether manufacturers truly fix these issues or just repackage them with new features and new promises. For buyers, the message is clear. Do your homework, study long-term reliability, and never assume a truck will last just because it always has in the past. Because when a pickup collapses early, the damage isn't just mechanical, it's financial, emotional, and lasting. And the owners who live through it say the same thing over and over again. They wish someone had warned them before the mileage climbed and the problems started coming all at once.